Hello everyone, today we'll be doing kind of an interesting run. Today we are going to be doing something that is normally a bad Pokemon. We are going to be doing Chansey in Pokemon Red. You may be wondering how Chansey is a bad Pokemon, because it does have a very high HP stat, but the rest of its stats are just quite garbage. And in modern gens, it's really true because its only good stat is its special defense, and it can help be a special wall in competitive. But here's the thing though. We're doing Generation 1, Pokemon Red, so our special stat is actually 105. But however, with our attack and defense stat that are barely able to get to double digits, this is going to be very terrible until we get some special moves. But what kind of special moves do we get? The special moves we can get include Bubble Beam, Water Gun, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Solar Beam, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Psychic, Fire Blast, and Psywave. So, a lot of those are really good moves that whenever a Pokemon get them, 9 out of 10 times we're going to use them. But here's the thing though, by level up is the big issue, because we only start with Double Slap and Pound until level 24 when we can get Sing. And then after that it's Growl, Minimize, Defense Curl, Light Screen, and Double Edge. Minimize is going to be quite useful with badge boosting ourselves as well as boosting our evasion. The way I have my rules set up is so only Pokemon that get Double Team and Minimize by level up are allowed to use it, because it restricts the strategy to just a select few Pokemon, so that way they can still see some play. But I'm not going to teach it to everybody. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. I also wanted to bring up one difference. If we were doing yellow version, this would be a lot easier. Because if you take a look at the yellow moveset, Chansey doesn't start with Pound and Double Slap, it starts with Pound and Tail Whip. So on Brock's Pokemon, you could actually use Tail Whip to lower their defense, so that way Pound and Double Slap would do more damage. So this would be a lot easier of a run in yellow version, just because of that. But we're not doing yellow version, we're doing red version, so this is going to be much harder. And if we take a look at our Pokemon Red leaderboard, we've only got 4 Pokemon on here at the moment, with Charizard in first place with an hour and 7 minutes. I don't think Chansey is going to be able to break that time, but I think it can still be pretty competitive due to the amount of good special moves it gets with 105 special, but the early Brock split is definitely going to hold it back. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the run. Let's talk about the first rival battle. I do eventually win the rival battle, but it is just a massive slog because you just have to keep spamming Double Slap. It takes forever because it does 2 damage a hit or something, and then the Charmander can use Growl just to make things even worse. I do eventually win though, but if I had lost, I would have just started the run over. Because we need the experience, because here's another thing about Chansey. Chansey is one of the very few Pokemon in Generation 1 with the fast level up group. Generally the fast level up group is preserved for pink Pokemon. Well, it's not just because Chansey is pink that it gets it. I'm just saying it's kind of a coincidence that the Pokemon in the fast group are the Clefairy line, the Jigglypuff line, and Chansey, and they all happen to be pink. I'm just saying. Call me a conspiracy theorist in the comments, but I'm still sticking through with this theory. Anyway, it's a good thing we're in the fast experience group, because the kind of level we're going to need to achieve in order to beat Brock is going to be quite high. Because even if we grinded all the way to level 24 for Sing, which I am not doing, Brock has 5 full heals per Pokemon, so Sing will literally not make the fight any better. And besides, it's only 55% accurate, so why the heck would I use it? The main plan to get Chansey to level up is to defeat every wild Pokemon we come across, as well as all of the trainers. But another reason Pokemon Red and Blue are harder than Pokemon Yellow in the early game is because there aren't as many trainers to train on. Pokemon Yellow has 2 extra trainers you can fight. There's a Lass with 2 Nidorans, and there's a Bug Catcher with a Metapod that knows Tackle for some reason. So in Red and Blue, not only Brock's Pokemon are higher leveled, but there's 2 less trainers than Yellow. So this is going to make it even harder for Chansey. So the main plan is just to defeat all of the trainers, and then once I get to a suitable level, I do the rest of my training as Blackout training on the Junior Light Years trainer. This guy is very good for Blackout training because his Diglett is generally pretty easy to knock out, and it gives a solid 190 XP, which in the wild, each Rattata gives 20 XP or something. So that's like the equivalent of like 8 Rattata, or 9. I'm probably miscounting the math. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And then I can just let the Sandshrew take me out. And the main plan is just to go at this fight over and over again until I eventually defeat him. And then once I defeat him, I just plan to start going at Brock until I eventually win, because it's either I fail at Brock and have to black out, keep the experience, or I have to fight like 9,000 Caterpies. So let's go take a look at Brock. Brock starts off with his level 12 Geodude that knows Tackle and Defense Curl. I start off by using Double Slap because even though it's only doing 1 damage per hit, it can hit up to 5 times, so it'll do anywhere from 2 damage to 5 damage. Although another problem with Double Slap is that it is not that accurate. I believe it's only 80% accurate. If I'm wrong, I'll just put the info on screen. So if Double Slap keeps missing, I'm going to end up with some problems. But unfortunately on this attempt, I barely am able to defeat the Geodude, so I end up losing. I realize that I'm probably a bit too low of a level for Brock, so I train up a couple more levels in the wild until level 16. So now I'm going to be sticking to Brock until I eventually beat him, because at level 16, I can pretty consistently at least take out his Geodude, and then once I defeat the Geodude, he gives 220 experience points, and then I'm pretty much not able to take out the Onix, but that doesn't matter because as soon as I get knocked out, I will just take the Blackout, keep the experience, warp back to the Pewter City Pokemon Center, or the Viridian Pokemon Center because I forgot to heal there, and then once I warp back to the center, I can just go back into the gym and try again. Because here's the thing, 220 experience is a lot of experience for Chansey, because in between level ups at this point, Chansey needs around 500 XP, so you would either have to defeat like 200 Caterpie or some nonsense number like that, or you could just knock out Geodude twice. So my plan is just to keep going at Brock, blackout training, until I eventually win, because the sooner I can get out of the early game and get access to special moves, the better. So I'm just going to skip ahead to the winning attempt, which is around 32.5 minutes into the run. I'm on the Onix, we're both in yellow health, and it's generally not a big deal if it uses Bide. Since I'm only doing 1 damage to it, its Bide is only going to deal back like 4 to 6 damage, so it's kind of doing less damage than his Tackle sometimes. So on this attempt, I eventually beat him, although I'm in very low health because it did manage to get a critical hit on me, but luckily I win, and I get to level 19 and get the Boulder Badge with a time of 33 minutes and 12 seconds. Man, that was a long Brock split, but things will definitely look up from here. I then defeat the Route 3 trainers heading up to Mount Moon, and then in Mount Moon, I can get the very first cool TM I can learn, and that is Water Gun. Water Gun's only 40 base power, but this is my first special move, so this is already going to be one of my best moves. I also grabbed a TM for Mega Punch while I'm in here and replace it over Pound because there are still going to be some fights I'm going to need to use a physical move, and Mega Punch is not that out of the way, so I just get it. And I also try to catch a Paris in here for Cut and Dig, because unlike Pokemon Yellow, you're not given a free Charmander and Squirtle for your HM purposes, so you kinda have to catch them yourself. But unfortunately, when I ran into a Paris, I used my weakest move, Double Slap, but unfortunately I get the worst time in the world for a critical hit 4-turn Double Slap and I knock it out. You know, I could have used those during the Brock battle, but oh well, whatever. And then once I take out the Rocket Grunt and the Super Nerd, I take the Helix Fossil, get out of Mount Moon, and enter Cerulean City. From here, I can either do Rival 2 or Misty. And believe it or not, I'm actually going for Misty first. I need the TM that she gives, which is Bubble Beam, because it'll be my pretty much most powerful move to deal with the early and mid game until I get other moves like Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. So I'm going to defeat Misty right away. But you may be asking, hold up, you only have Mega Punch, Double Slap, and Water Gun. How are you going to defeat Staryu and Starmie? Easy solution. The move Bide. How Bide works is that I'll be storing energy anywhere from 2 to 3 turns, and then however much damage I take, I deal back double. There are some weird glitches that kinda interact with Bide, but none of those really apply to the Misty battle, so I'll just ignore them for now. And the main plan is, since I have very powerful special, I can actually survive a lot of Bubble Beams and Water Guns, and I can take out her Pokemon really quickly. So let's demonstrate this in the Misty battle. On the Staryu, I just use Mega Punch because it's not going to deal that much damage to me. I need the health for Starmie. So I go for Bide, it uses X Defend, Water Gun, and I unleash energy to do half. And that was just one Water Gun. On the next attempt, I get hit with Water Gun and Tackle, and I actually knock it out. Now I get the opportunity to learn Sing, and I choose to just get rid of Bide. I don't really plan on using Sing, but you generally never know if you need it, and besides, after Misty, Bide is generally never used again, so it was just best to get rid of it. And then once I defeat Misty, I teach Bubble Beam over Water Gun, and then I take on Rival 2. He starts off with Pidgeotto, and the first thing I do is realize I didn't heal, and then I use 2 Bubble Beams to knock it out. Luckily it did not go for Sand Attack, and now I'm in red bar for the rest of the fight. Even though on 3 times game speed it generally doesn't matter, it still saves like few milliseconds. Still, it's something. And then from here I was debating whether to keep red bar through the Nugget Bridge because I'll pretty much be one-shotting everything with Bubble Beam, and I decided I probably shouldn't play cocky, so I just used 1 potion. And it was a good thing I wasn't being cocky, because some of the Lass's Pokemon, like her Pidgey, have Quick Attack, and if I get hit with too many Quick Attacks, things will definitely pile up on me. Normally, this is where I'd say I made it to Bill and get the SS ticket, but I actually got one other thing first. I defeated the hiker down here to get this junior trainer to move out of the way, and then I can get this TM right here, TM19. This is Seismic Toss. For Pokemon with very, very low attack stats, like Chansey and Alakazam that I did a while ago, Seismic Toss is pretty much your most powerful physical move. Literally a move that just does set damage based on your level. So I pick this move up and I'll be teaching it very shortly. But then after I get the TM, I then rescue Bill, get the SS ticket, escape rope out. You can only do that in red and blue, you can't do it in yellow. And then I can just defeat the Rocket Grunt holding Dig, and then I can go down south to Vermilion City. The first thing I do here is go to the Pokemon Mart, sell some stuff, buy some repels and super potions, and trust me, since Chansey has a lot of health, I'm going to need a bunch of super potions, so I buy 9 of them today. And then after this, I hop on the SS Anne. I actually do get the TM for Body Slam because I wasn't sure if Chansey could learn it. I had forgotten from earlier, and it can learn Body Slam, but this was generally a waste of time getting because I only used this move for a couple of fights, so I really think I should have skipped this, but whatever. I also get the Gentleman Candy while I'm here, and then take on Rival 3. This fight should be very similar to before. I used 2 Bubble Beams on his Pidgeotto, and then on his Raticate, 1 Bubble Beam takes it out. I get to level 30 where I can learn the most OP move in the game, Growl, but I choose to deny it because I like to make things difficult around here. And then I used 2 Seismic Tosses on Kadabra, and I tried to use Bubble Beam on Charmeleon, but I was actually out of power points, so I guess Body Slam came in helpful here, but Seismic Toss would have helped just fine either way. I then get Cut, leave the ship, teach Cut to my non-existent Paris. Oh right, when I knocked out that first Paris by mistake, I never caught another one. So I went into the grass up north on Route 6 and I found myself an Oddish. This will be my Cut user. Although sadly it can't learn Dig like Paris can, so I'm going to have to find something else for Dig. So my Dig user is just going to be a Diglett, which happens to know Dig. I actually forgot it did, and I tried to teach the TM for it, but then the game was like, hey, are you stupid? This thing already knows Dig. So I just let it cap Dig, and then I can go defeat Lieutenant Surge. As soon as I entered the battle, I realized I had forgotten to use an Ether on Bubble Beam, which was really bad, because now I'm going to have to take his team out with Body Slam and Seismic Toss. Luckily my special stat is really high, so I'm not taking that much damage from Thunderbolt, so Seismic Toss and Body Slam does make work of his team, although this would have gone faster if I had had Bubble Beam power points, but whatever. I then get the Bicycle Voucher, dig out of the house back to Cerulean. Again, you can only do that in red and blue, although in yellow you can just go in the Diglett's cave and dig there, but it's not really a big deal. And then I can exchange the bike voucher for the bike, and then do the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet of Trainers. Nothing on this route's really going to cause a struggle, but but I think the one trainer I should bring up is the Wrapping Lass, because I don't have a good super effective move for her. My special moves are resisted by her Pokemon, so I have to use Seismic Toss to deal over half, and then the Oddish could Stun Spore me, and the Bellsprout could lock me into a Para-Wrap scenario. But luckily the Oddish only used Poison Powder, which was the best case scenario, and then I end up winning this fight pretty easily. Other than that, the rest of the trainers go quite easily, so let's skip ahead to Celadon City. The first thing I do here is heal at the Celadon City Pokemon Center, and then I enter the department store. The first floor I go to is the 4th floor to buy 2 Pokédolls, one for the Marowak, and then one for Mimic just in case I want it. I ended up getting this even if I don't plan on using it, because there have been some runs I last minute realized I needed Mimic and my route was wrong, and I didn't have a Pokédoll. So it's better to just waste the extra half second just getting 2 of them. And then I go to the top floor, get the TM for Ice Beam, and then I can go down to the 2nd floor, sell some nuggets and some other garbage I didn't need, and then I can buy some Super Repels. There's no vitamin of the day right now, and then I can get the HM for Fly, teach it to Pidgey, and then I can teach Ice Beam to Chansey over Sing, and then I can go to Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town and take on Rival 4. He has extra Pokemon than before, but due to the level difference of it being a solo run, he's pretty much always going to be easy, especially since I now have Ice Beam for his Execute, and then Thunderbolt for his Gyarados. You know, it still always amazes me how Gyarados in this game starts with Hydro Pump, so when I do a solo run of Gyarados one day in Red and Blue, that thing is going to be an absolute powerhouse. They really nerfed its moveset in Yellow version, where it only has Tackle for the first 10 levels, and yeah, that one's not going to be fun. It's going to be another repeat of Alakazam, although not as bad, but still. And then I go through the rest of the tower, send the Marowak to hell with a Pokédoll, and then I can get the Pokeflute from Mr. Fuji. After I get the Pokeflute, I fly back to Celadon City, enter Cycling Road, get the rare candy and the PP up, use the PP up on Ice Beam, and then I can enter Fuchsia City into the Safari Zone. I get the usual Full Restore, Protein, Gold Teeth, and Surf. I should have skipped the Protein because Chansey's not going to be using her attack stat. It's no big deal. And when I dig out of the Safari Zone, I have 3 choices. I can either do Erica, Koga, or Silph Co, and I actually choose to go to Silph Co. I go to the 5th floor, get the card key, and then I go all the way down to the 3rd floor and prepare to fight Rival 5. Now our levels are pretty much tied, but I think with my much higher special stat I'll be fine. I use 2 Thunderbolts to knock out his Pidgeot, and then now I can learn Minimize. I actually teach Minimize over Seismic Toss. And then next up is his Execute. I should have started setting up on it, but I guess I was just really worried about Stun Spore, so I just ignored it. And then Gyarados I take down with Thunderbolt, and now is the Alakazam. I have all special moves, so I just use a Thunderbolt because it's the best one I got, and I can always hope for Paralysis. Although the Alakazam is being a troll with confusing me with Psybeam, or just spamming Recover, or if I keep hitting myself in confusion. So this thing was just being a huge troll, and then after a long standoff of us hitting each other and me hitting myself, I eventually take it out with 38 HP left. I was out of Thunderbolt, so I go for Ice Beam, but unfortunately when I was just about to knock it out, Charizard hits me with Slash and I get a reset. That's actually my first reset since the Brock split. Kinda shows you how good Chansey is when it actually gets good moves. On the 2nd try though, I am able to knock out his Pokemon quite easily. And then I can get my Lapras here for Surf and Strength later. I can take out the last Rocket Grunt and then send Giovanni blasting away. I'm not going to do an intro for him. I'm hoping to do a shorter video this week because Scott's Thoughts is hosting his final race for 2023, Pokemon Yellow with Smeargle. I want to devote more time to editing that, but I don't want to leave you guys hanging without a video, so I'm working on making this a bit quicker than usual. Although, knowing me, it's probably going to be at least a half hour or something. And then after I take out Giovanni, I go to the 10th floor where all the Rocket Grunts are gone. I get the Carbos and Rare Candy, use the Carbos, and then I dig out. Now I can either do Erica, Koga, or Sabrina, and my general rule is if I can take out Silph Co, I can take out Sabrina while I'm here. So let's take on Sabrina as gym number 4. She starts off with her level 38 Kadabra. The first thing I do is set up some minimizes. I set up until I get to +4, and then I use Ice Beam, and I actually froze the Kadabra, so I actually decided to save power points and just take it out with Bubble Beam. The reason I just keep spamming Bubble Beam even after the Mr. Mime, I actually forgot to heal at the Pokemon Center to restore my power points, so I have to be a bit conservative when I use my moves. But luckily, I'm able to take out her first 3 Pokemon, and now is her final Alakazam. Now I have my 2 remaining Ice Beams. The first one is a crit, the second one is not. I was just hoping for a freeze, but luckily Sabrina was being an absolute dumbass. She used Reflect 3 times in a row, and she just pretty much gave me the win. Now we're going to be on a mini gym leader sweep. My 5th gym leader is going to be Erica, because the reason I prefer to fight Erica over Koga is so I can get the ability to use Strength and then get the rare candy in the Warden's house right next to Koga's gym. It's just so I don't have to make an extra fly trip. Erica starts off with Victory Bell, and then 1 Ice Beam takes it out for the 1-hit. I'm sure that surprises no one, but her Tangela is a 1-hit, and her Vileplume is a 1-hit as well. So why don't we just skip the intro and just skip on straight to Koga. He starts off with his coughing, but I now have another special move called Psychic. This is generally one of the more powerful Psychic moves in the game, because so many Pokemon in Gen 1 are weak to Psychic, especially with the abundance of poison types. And then when I actually make it to his final Weezing, I hit it with a Psychic, but unfortunately my Psychic was disabled, so I had to just use Thunderbolt instead. And then the Weezing lives in red health, and it uses Self-Destruct, knocking out Chansey. So yeah, I actually lost to Koga, all because his Muck disabled Psychic, which is a 1 in 4 chance of using Disable, and a 1 in 4 chance of actually disabling Psychic. So a 1 in 16 event caused me to lose Koga. That kinda hurts to think about. But on the next try though, I prevent that from happening and I can take him out quite easily. And now, we only have 2 gym leaders left. I fly to Pallet Town, surf down to Cinnabar Island and enter the mansion, and then I get the 2 rare candies and the secret key on the bottom floor, dig out, fly back to Cinnabar Island, and I fight Blaine. I don't know who needs to know this, but Blaine in Pokemon Red and Blue is honestly one of the worst gym leaders in all of Pokemon. I use 3 Minimize, and then I can just spam Thunderbolt or Psychic or just whatever I want really on his whole team. I could even do Ice Beam if I want to, because in Generation 1, Fire types do not resist Ice. So yeah, Charizard is actually weak to Ice moves. His Arcanine though tries to put up a fight by hitting me with a pretty powerful takedown, but ends up blowing the fight anyway by hitting me with Ember and missing a Fire Blast. So if it actually landed a second takedown, it probably would have killed me. So that does show you I have to be very careful with physical moves, because Chansey can still get quite hurt from them. But now, we're at 7 gym badges, so now let's take on the final gym leader, Giovanni. Definitely one of the main problems with Chansey that I'm just now starting to realize is that Chansey is still pretty slow. I know Giovanni has some fast Pokemon on his team like Dugtrio, so I use 5 Minimizes to set up my special and my speed, and now I can actually outspeed and one-shot everything on his team. And during the fight, I get the opportunity to learn Light Screen, but Light Screen is generally not that useful, so I just got rid of it. The abundance of special moves is just way too good to pass up on, and that's especially true with Rival 6. Even though I'm only 2 levels higher than his Pidgeot, after I set up some Minimizes, I can take it out very easily with Thunderbolt. And then on his Rhyhorn, I can take it out with Psychic. The reason I didn't use Ice Beam was just to skip the super effective text, although I probably should have just used Ice Beam because I spammed A too fast and I used Psychic on Execute, and then I ended up using Psychic on Gyarados as well. Okay, I need to stop playing so clumsily. On the Alakazam, I used Thunderbolt to deal around a third, and then it unfortunately used a recover twice in a row, and then eventually, in no time, I do take it out, although using a lot of Thunderbolts in the process. And I do get hit with a critical hit Psychic, leaving me at 69 HP. Nice. And then on the Charizard, I keep missing moves, it keeps missing moves, but eventually I do win the fight with the nice HP still intact. You know, I'd say in the end, if you were to take anything from this video, just be glad we ended with 69. Anyway, let's just move on, shall we? Normally, I would tell you I got the rare candy in Victory Road and skipped straight to the Pokémon League, but I accidentally ran into the trainer here with a Parasect, Dewgong, and Chansey, and I legit almost lost this fight, and I hadn't saved since Rival 6, so I would have either had to fight the rival again, or just black out and head back to Viridian City. Either way would cost a lot of time, but luckily my minimizes came through, and I'm actually able to live. You know, it's a really good thing I kept minimized, because I most likely would have lost this fight, all because of an accidental trainer. But anyway, with all that drama out of the way, I'm finally at the Pokémon League. I heal at the center, buy some full restores, and now I can take on the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. On Lorelei, I start off by setting up 4 minimizes, and then I basically just sweep her entire team with Thunderbolt. Although her Jinx has very high special and can survive at least 2 Thunderbolts, at least she doesn't freeze me with Ice Punch or put me to sleep with Lovely Kiss, so this fight was still pretty easy. Next up is Bruno. I just spammed Psychic on everything. Although I will mention, I actually did lose this fight. I got hit by High Jump Kick from Hitmonlee for the 1-hit, all because it actually outsped me by 8. So that shows you just how threatening fighting type moves are. You know, if this were a randomizer, Steve and I haven't done a Pokemon Blue randomizer with Chansey yet, but I'm sure when we do, I'll make sure to mention, be very aware of hard-hitting physical attackers like Hitmonlee. They're basically going to be the most threatening thing to Chansey. So on the next attempt, I come in this fight with all my rare candies, and thanks to the 12.5% boost to my speed I got from Koga's badge, I'm actually able to outspeed everything on his team and move on to Agatha. On Agatha, I really don't want to set up on her Pokemon because her Pokemon are quite random to work with, and I can't set up on Golbat either, because if it lands a Haze, it'll get rid of all of my stat modifiers, so all of my minimizes will go away, even my badge boosts will go away, even the normal ones you're supposed to keep. So you do not want to set up on the So you definitely do not want to set up on the Golbat. And then unfortunately on the Arbok I get hit with Glare, so I'm going into the rest of this fight paralyzed, but luckily Agatha can either be really easy or really hard depending on how her random AI will go, and I luckily win on the first try. Lance, I'm pretty sure I don't need to say much about. I can Thunderbolt his Gyarados for the 1-hit, and then all of his Dragon types are 1-shots with Ice Beam. And Aerodactyl, I can either take it out with Ice Beam or Thunderbolt. Although it is faster than me, in Pokemon Red and Blue, Aerodactyl has a very terrible moveset on this team, but in Yellow version, they did give it access to Fly and Wing Attack, so that can be kinda threatening, but not today. Now, for the champion. On the Pidgeot, I used 5 minimizes, and Pidgeot did actually mirror move a couple of my minimizes, but I eventually take it out, and then the Alakazam goes down with Thunderbolt. The Rhydon goes down to Psychic to save a bit of time from the super effective text of Ice Beam. Even though this is 4 times speed, it probably wouldn't matter. Exeggutor goes down to Ice Beam. Gyarados goes down to Thunderbolt. I get to level 66. On Charizard, it missed a Fire Spin, and then I actually take it out, and then Chansey has beaten the game with a real time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 58 seconds, with 5 resets at level 66, and a game time at the Hall of Fame of 4 hours and 9 minutes. You know, Chansey did really good, especially you have to remember that her Brock split was 33 minutes, so if you subtract 33 minutes from her final time, This would have been times close to like what Alakazam and Gyarados would get. So you do have to realize Chansey's starting moveset is just what really holds it back. With a time of 126.58, this puts Chansey at 3rd place on our leaderboard. It didn't do as good as Magneton or Charizard, which is honestly surprising because Magneton is not that good of a Pokemon, but it's the fact that Magneton started with Sonic Boom, it had a really easy time with Brock. It is ahead of Kabuto and Charmander, but that's literally because they're first stage Pokemon. Of course Chansey's going to do better than them. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and you can follow my socials such as my Discord, or you can support the channel on Patreon or YouTube memberships. Huge shout out to Steve M Plays for being my first YouTube member, and shout out to John Calibro for being my first patron on Patreon. Thank you to both of you, I really appreciate you guys a lot. You guys are the true speedsters. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.